Okay, welcome back everybody. Today I am working on, and if you remember my video with the hedge trimmer, I had mentioned something about I'm working on something I've never worked on before, and it has nothing to do with chainsaws and it has nothing to do with mowers. And this is what I'm working on right here. It is a propane powered buffer, and the man needs me to change out the regulator on it. And this is the regulator I took off, and the regulator gets bolted on right there. And if you notice, it also has a solenoid. The wire is broken on the solenoid, so this solenoid is basically done. There's not enough here to make a repair, so I'm going to finish cutting this harness off here. And then this solenoid already has these adapters to it, and I'm just going to take this and use the same spade adapters to that, so I have the original harness that will go back and plug into the original harness, so that way there's no modifications there. And so at first I couldn't figure out how the heck this solenoid was going to work, because if you take a good look at this thing, you can't find a battery on it anywhere, right? So I said, well, it's got to have a battery. I see a key here, I see a starter there. So I turned the key on and tried to, turned it so I could start it, and it tried to crank over. So, well, it's got to have a battery on here somewhere. So I flipped it over on its side, and the battery is up underneath of up underneath the machine there. Just a small battery, like a motorcycle type battery. So now this makes sense, because in order for this to work like it should, your gas comes in through here, goes to the solenoid. When you turn the key on, the solenoid opens, allows it to go through the regulator, and from the regulator goes to the motor. And the motor has these hoses here. This is your inlet hose, the big one, and this is some sort of like a vacuum hose, and I'm not sure where it goes at up underneath. I haven't really looked at it that good yet. And that's what feeds the motor. So let's get you set up in the tripod, and we're going to try to do this together and try to figure this out. And it's pretty basic. It's not, I don't see where it's that difficult, but we're going to find out. It's pretty basic, pretty simple, and we're going to try to take care of this. All right, so there's a couple things I want to switch over on this. This is the old one, this is the new one. Well, it's not new. To me, it looks like it's used, but it's the one he wants me to put on. That one had this plastic tee on it. I'm taking this plastic tee off, and I'm putting this nice brass straight, which came off the one I'm taking off. And I'm going to get it switched over to the other one. So I got this stuff called it's a Teflon tape that you use for plumbing and the piping of any type. It's called Mega Tape, and it's a little thicker than your regular white Teflon, and I'm going to use this stuff on this application. With it being gas, I want to make sure everything seals up like it's supposed to. Somebody friend of mine gave me this stuff years ago, and I'm probably, I don't know, halfway through it. Make sure you're wrapping your tape the right way. With these fittings, you just want to snug them up. You don't need to kill them. It's brass and aluminum, so if you crank it in there too tight, you're going to split your aluminum. Should be good. He thought maybe that I'd have to change these hoses out. He thought one was longer than the other. But the hoses themselves are about the same. Don't think it's going to pose an issue. But if it does, we'll switch it out. Alright, the other part that I need to switch over is this piece here. And so we'll have to take the one off of here. Because this barb is quite a bit larger than this one here. And we need it to fit that hose. So let me... Yep, that worked. Get this off of here. And this looks a little different. Not sure what this actually is. I don't know if it's some sort of check or what. But we've got to change it out if we need this to work. I'm just going to loosely put the old stuff on the other one, and I told him the problem with this one here is probably, well, it's obviously the solenoid, and that we probably could have switched out just the solenoid itself, but he wants to switch out the whole thing, so that's no problem. We can do that. When we're done with this, we're going to test everything with some soapy water to make sure there's no leaks. Definitely don't want leaks. See if we can get the old Teflon off of here. I'm gonna run this on my wire brush real quick. Alright. Got everything nice and cleaned up. I'll put some more tape on this one. So basically, when you're putting your tape on, you want to wind this on just like you were putting a nut on this thing. So when you're looking at your threads, you want to wrap that around here in the direction you would turn a nut on here. That's kind of how I remember it. And plus, I always put the threaded part in one hand, the same hand every time. That also helps me out too. And then I put the tape in the other hand every time. But if you just remember that you don't wind this on here like you're trying to thread a nut onto the threads, you'll be fine every time. It should be plenty. This stuff's kind of thick, so you don't need too many rats. I'll deal with that for now. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is this. No matter how you look at it, this solenoid is no more good because it broke off flush. There's nothing there left for me to make a repair to. So this is done. So we're going to cut that off flush on the other side too. And what I would like to try to do, and I'm not sure if it makes a difference on what wire is where. But we're going to try to figure out how we need this. Let me, I'm not sure if, I doubt it matters, which wire goes where. And this is my thoughts, is that because both wires are the same color. If it mattered, I would think they'd make one a different color. So yes, it is a keyed adapter. I don't really think it's going to matter. Alright, so what I'm going to do I'm going to put spade terminals on these, on this plug, just like they got on the other plug. So every time he wants to every time he changes one out, he can just keep this for every one he ever gets, and they would just splice it in or plug it in. I won't worry about splicing it, but make it so it plugs in all the time. I'm not sure how this original solenoid would come, whether it would come with this plug or not. But if it doesn't, no big deal. Alright, so I can't use this style. This is the oval type, and this is more of the square type. So they're not going to fit together. I can get this to work, but I think I'll just go with these. They'll still be protected inside of that one. I don't think we'll have to worry about anything going to ground. Okie dokie. Alright, so this wire would be a little bit long. It's no big deal. You can make sure it stays tucked out of the way, but now you got that, and you can just unplug this for the next solenoid that you may get, If the next solenoid has this on it, no big deal, use it. And just keep this, don't ever throw it away. And if another solenoid comes without anything on it, then you would put your spade connectors on your solenoid side and then plug your pigtail into that, your ready-made pigtail. So that is something you can use forever. All right, let's get you turned around and we're going to get this thing installed. Let me, I guess what I should have done before I went through all this trouble is try to activate the solenoid with some 12-volt power. So let's go in the shop and try that now. A little late though. Went through all this effort. I'm in the middle of so many different little projects right now. Things are getting kind of cluttered. How we can do this. I think I got some alligator clips around here. There's one. We'll figure something out here. We'll make something work. Yep. That's working. Okey chokey. Alright, I think you guys can see there. And this just mounts right in this area with a couple bolts. Go up a little higher. I don't think it matters too much. I think that might be a little bit of a problem. I'm not sure we're going to be able to I don't hear the solenoid. Yep, we got battery voltage. Well, I'd like to think why isn't that working? I know the battery's good because it tried to crank the motor over. Come on in there. Yep, it's definitely good. We have voltage. Is it marked on the frame? All right, so I took it back to the bench, and it still does work. But for some reason, the machine's not telling it to work. I don't know why, because we definitely got juice. Basically what I need to do, it appears that we do have power going to that, and we need it before it starts cranking so it feeds fuel to the motor when it does crank. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm grounding to the switch body. And my hot side is this yellow wire, which is the yellow wire on the harness itself. And I've got my 12.6 volts there. And I've got nothing on this orange wire, which is the brown wire on the harness. So on this side of the harness, we have another brown and yellow with spade terminals on it. Okay, so it's labeled, and this would be to the key switch for the hour meter. Yep, that's what this wire is for. If it had an hour meter on it, you would use this wire harness here, these two wires there. And this one says fuel valve on both of these two wires, so they are for the fuel valve, but doesn't seem to be activating the solenoid for whatever reason. My guess is also that the body becomes the ground. So all that does look pretty good. There's no corrosion on the switch. It looks like everything was taken care of. So I don't seem to be too concerned with that. It's kind of nice. All these wires are labeled from the factory. It's actually printed right on the wire itself. So that's kind of nice. Makes it a little easier to trace your wires. Alright, so goes around there, there. This should be your fuel pressure sensor, would be my guess. Yep. It's awfully big. Let's go back to the switch. That's the fuel solenoid. The brown one's for the fuel solenoid, that one there. So it comes off of the back of the the oil pressure switch. sure why. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Alright, so I'm starting to think I got some sort of electrical issue somewhere. I was thinking maybe there was a bad ground, so I cleaned the surface area of the switch and the switch bracket. I cleaned it up, and the star washer and the nut, stuff like that. And no change. I can go to the hot wire, which is this one here. I've got battery power coming from this one, which is my yellow wire down here. But I got nothing coming from or going to that brown, which the brown goes back to the oil sensor. I'm wondering if maybe the oil sensor is bad and it's killing the circuit, so I may have to try to do a jumper and see if that works. So what I am able to do though is I can hook up the hot right to one side of the solenoid. I can turn the key on, and I can take the other side of the solenoid and just go to ground. Activates the solenoid every time. Right? Sorry about that. So something's not quite right with the sensor, with the electrical system, and I'm thinking it might have something to do with the oil sensor, because I would believe that the oil sensor would do the same thing as what it does on a gas-powered carbureted mower. Is if it gets low on oil or something like that, or you get too steep of an angle, it will kill the power going to the carburetor, the battery, stuff like that, or not the battery, but to the mower. And it should do the same thing for here. And I have a feeling that it would cause the solenoid to shut down, which would then cut your gas flow off, and this thing would shut down. So we're going to concentrate on the oil sensor, and we'll see if I can jump this in such a way that I could make the solenoid work like it's supposed to. And if that is the case, then I know my oil sensor is no good. Alright, just thought I'd fill you in on that. I'll bring you back in a little bit. I don't want to keep it rolling because it's going to get really, really long. But I will fill you in each time I come back and talk to you some more. I'll fill you in what I did and how I figured it out. Okay, so what I've done here, I tested my theory on the let me get that out of your way, on the oil sensor being bad. And what I did was I took my tester and I found out where my ground and my hot was. I already knew, let's see, the yellow is my hot, and my brown is kind of like the return going back to here. This is just nothing but a switch. And if the switch isn't made, it's going to give you a bad signal. So once I found out where my hot and where my ground was by using my tester, I went ahead and took my jumper wire and I plugged it in, one side to the black wire, one side to the brown wire, and then I turned my key on. And guess what? Solenoid works. So I unplugged my jumper. It's off, on, off, on, off, on. So the switch is not allowing the system to make a complete circuit. So we've got to get an oil sensor for this mower, and once we do that, we'll be in good shape. And that's probably all that was wrong with it to begin with. And I guess they just thought it was the regulator. So that's what I figured out. Something was killing the circuit, not allowing the solenoid to activate. Knowing it had a oil pressure sensor, I went ahead and jumped my circuit, and my solenoid started working, which tells me that my oil sensor is bad. And so hopefully you enjoyed the content. This is what I did to diagnose the problem. If you like the content, please give me a thumbs up, comment, send me plenty of comments. I want to hear from you guys. Subscribe, be kind, and help people when you can.